It's 100% on brand. This is a guy who openly boasted about his desire to effectively burn down our entire structure. This is a guy who calls himself a Leninist. So it's all par for the course. This is not surprising at all. Let's just be very clear here for a second. These people in jail, they're not hostages. They're terrorists. They're domestic terrorists. And the leader of the Republican Party, the person that's going to be the standard bearer for this party, believes that domestic terrorists are actually hostages. That's crazy.
So this is a really important point, Governor Dean. When you were a presidential candidate, and I still remember when you had genuine supporters who really believed in your ideas and were absolutely emphatic about that. How does the energy that we saw in your campaign differ from the current MAGA movement, or indeed any of the energy that we traditionally see in strong campaigns?
Well, in my campaign and most campaigns that I know of, you don't have a candidate who's hallucinatory. I was able to bring most of the people in my campaign to John Kerry once he won the nomination, because clearly John Kerry was a better candidate than George W. Bush, whose administration had lied to get us into the Iraq War. What's going on now defies logic. Trump and many of his followers are not logical. They've embraced conspiracy theories for whatever psychological reason they find that necessary, and I'm not a psychiatrist, so I can't tell you what that is. And it's a pretty frightening moment, but I find it hard to believe that 51% of Americans are willing to have a conspiracy theorist in the White House now that he has really shown his true colors.
So, Kurt, in an essay from that new book, Jonathan Karl writes, quote, Trump will continue to talk about what is at stake in the election in apocalyptic terms, the final battle, knowing how high the stakes are for him personally. He can win and retake the White House, or he can lose and go to prison. We've talked about this a lot tonight. In practical terms, given the stakes, losing or going to prison, what can we expect from the Trump campaign, and what might we expect from a Trump presidency?
Well, we have seen that they will do and say anything. They will do and say anything to cling on to power, to avoid being held accountable, including unleashing their deranged supporters on the rest of us. I mean, what's at stake right now is our entire democratic process. They didn't blink before trying to overthrow and overturn a free and fair election. They didn't hesitate to send their rabid supporters at the United States Capitol, targeting anybody that was walking by. I mean, there's a reason why Josh Hawley was running away from these people, his people, for crying out loud. There's a reason why they were saying, hang the vice president, their own vice president, the Republican vice president, Mike Pence. If they don't get their way this time, if they don't win, if they want to play this continuing conspiracy theory game, I'm very worried about what they're going to do, what they're going to say, because what we know about January 6th is that it wasn't just rhetoric. It wasn't just a normal tourist day. These people listen to what Donald Trump says and they act on it. They take it as marching orders. It's not just rhetoric and hyperbole. And it's a very, very dangerous situation when someone's about to try to use the presidency to avoid going to jail.
So, Governor Dean, with regard to that, I mean, this is someone who inspires this group of people, regardless of what the underlying truth of the matter is. And there are new signs that when Donald Trump tells his supporters that he's being legally persecuted in all of these different legal suits, that it actually benefits him, that his supporters respond to it well. Political reports that an anti-Trump group released 4 attack ads focusing on these 4 criminal cases. But the group's own data showed that the ads actually boosted his support among those Republicans who watch. What do you make of this? Is this simply a cult of personality, or is there something else going on?
No, it is a cult of personality. Look, there are 2 kinds of Trump supporters, basically. One are the people who really have a serious problem with their willingness to get rid of reality in order to get whatever they think they need. And the others are people who really do want to change the country and are sort of feeling it at a loss. Those people are voters we can get. I thought it was brilliant for Joe Biden to go on the picket line in Michigan while Trump was at a non-union automobile factory, because what's going to happen first of all, that was a first for any president of the United States, and he took some heat from it. But a lot of people who vote for Trump are upset at corporate power, which is ironic because Trump has manipulated and stolen money from his people for years. Those people we can get. They're not deranged. They're angry. But that's not the same as being deranged and being hallucinatory about what Donald Trump is about.
So that's a really great segue, Governor, for Kurt. Kurt, let's talk about the Biden campaign. New reporting from the AP suggests that the Biden campaign has a new plan to re-energize the Biden coalition by making the election a referendum on Trump. That was the strategy in 2020. Will it be a winning strategy in 2024, or should they pivot to something else?
No, it will be a strategy, and it will work because unlike the last election, this election, the likely Republican nominee is going to be spending an inordinate amount of time campaigning from a courtroom, from a courthouse. 91 indictments he'll be fending off. This is not a normal campaign. And you and I both know that if any of those proceedings are broadcast on television, that will be must-see TV. That will saturate everything everywhere. It'll be the most watched thing since the OJ trial. And so making Trump the focal point, the center point of this effort, that makes all the sense in the world because the media is going to already be there anyway. I mean, what are we going to really expect the press to cover? Biden's economic agenda and successes, or Donald Trump in a courtroom raising his hand trying to avoid incriminating himself and committing perjury?